Hello, everyone. Welcome to Not Your Advisor with NYU Grad. Today, I'm going to focus on a topic that I typically don't cover. So I'll introduce myself and the Substack to those who have never heard of me outside of the finance and business category on Substack or any podcast that platform that you follow. But I create content 5 days a week on the podcast discussing stocks and finance and Wall Street. And I write 7 days a week. And today I am going to talk about tips to grow your Substack by someone featured by Substack 3 times. This is not clickbait. All of the actionable tactics that I'm going to discuss today are free to deploy and implement. There will be no easy way out. So if you don't like to put in some sweat equity, you may want to skip this podcast. There will be 17 actionable tips, but let's get right into this. So with the topic out of the way, I wanted to at least share with you who I am. So my alias on Substack is NYU Grad. I've been professionally, I would say professionally, meaning that I've been successful trading the markets for 25 plus years. I have 20 plus years of tech leadership experience, and the culmination of that, I believe, was when the startup that I was part of got acquired by Adobe. And through Substack, it was completely a run, walk, pause, restart again type of experience during the COVID pandemic lockdown. So I started Substack in that time frame, but I didn't go 100%. And I'll walk through a little bit of that in the context of the tips, but I don't want to delay because I know you're here for the advice and the tips. So let's get right into it. So what inspired me to even create this podcast episode and the show notes? I was reading Lenny's newsletter on Substack, and Lenny's newsletter has like 670,000 Substack subscribers, and he had a particular Substack post called "The Secret to Duolingo's Exponential Growth." And he also had Sean Colombo from Duolingo collaborate on this piece. And the first headline piece of advice was maintain a sense of urgency to drive compound growth. I'll link the story. You can read about it, but it resonated with me quite a bit. I'll just read you one of the excerpts that really had me at hello when I read it. Quote, "To get the best long-term gains, you should always have a sense of urgency. The quicker you launch winning experiments, the quicker those changes impact your growth. Not only that, but these improvements compound." And that was Sean Colombo. And let's start kind of peeling the onion here. So I love this whole article, but I also love that piece of it because when you take a look at, or when I took a look at Substack as a platform, I really appreciated how Substack almost disappears from your workflow. They allow you to create whatever the topic or category that you're creating for. And on the flip side, like they're a platform, right? They're a SaaS company. On the flip side, we all as writers on Substack or wherever you are writing, right? It doesn't have to be Substack, but in this particular case, we'll be talking about Substack. You become your own SaaS platform, right? As long as you're able to create content, new content to generate and retain existing customers and generate new subscribers, You as a content creator are now the platform, the SaaS platform. And with every piece of content that you create, you are able to compound that content and benefit from building a great, successful business if you have a paid newsletter or Substack. But let's keep going. So urgency is really hard to sustain unless you love the mission and you're fully behind it. And I've seen that with my own eyes through the tech experience, right? Like, if you have a mission that everyone can rally behind, it's just easier to move up that mountain. But how do you translate this to your small but mighty Substack with 10, maybe 100, maybe 500, maybe 900 subscribers? And my advice to you all is to treat your Substack like Duolingo, a SaaS unicorn tech company, or any SaaS company. So let's go into a little bit about the tips that I have. They're very specific. I will go through each one with examples. But as I approach 4,000 subscribers on Substack, I really am trying to treat Substack and the business of Substack as if I already have 100,000 plus subscribers. This way, if I have habits in the business and in the workflow and content creation as a 100,000 plus subscriber Substack, I can only help myself grow. So that's my mentality there. And my goal is to get on that Substack top 25 finance list and to get to as many subscribers as Doomberg, which is the number one Substack writer for finance. Why not, right? It's finance and stocks. Everyone to some degree around the world has an interest in this. So it's just a matter of working hard to find that many people to subscribe. So I will be sharing some of the tips that are working for me, but I would also love to hear in the comments, are you already implementing some of these before you heard me talk about it? Are they working for you? Did I miss anything that has worked for you that might benefit the public that are listening to this? So please participate and comment and help this go viral. So, all right, number one, it's going to sound really cheesy, but it's true. You have to create content you love to create, or the urgency that we talked about in the beginning with Duolingo and Sean Colombo, the urgency will wane, and then the quality and the frequency of the content will drop off. Then you have attrition and you have subscribers that unsubscribe, and then the new subscribers won't be coming in because of all that. So create content that you love to create. It doesn't have to, so it doesn't feel like work. It's still going to be hard, so you might as well enjoy it. Number two, create content consistently and let your readers, listeners know a loose schedule. If you want to give them a fixed schedule, that's fine, but I would recommend a loose schedule. You know, the comparison I would make is think of your favorite TV show. Like, how annoying would it be if that show had no release schedule from one episode to the next? So give them a loose time frame of when to expect content. Number three, content compounds. I mentioned that earlier. So older posts or podcast or video pieces of content will bring in new subscribers continually, both free and paid. I still have posts from a year ago that new subscribers are coming in from. So that's the great thing. So create good content that can compound for you in the future. Number four is the network effect. This is really important. I'm definitely missing a few, but these are the top of mind network effect tools that Substack and elsewhere I would recommend you leverage to grow your Substack. Number one, turn on the referral program. It's free to do. Let your fans and subscribers help you grow. And I'll peel the onion on that in another number coming up, but definitely turn that on. Gifting, make sure that's turned on in Substack. I didn't even know this existed, but subscribers can gift subscriptions to their friends and family, whether it's free or paid. And I'm now seeing subscribers gift the paid subscription to people they know. And if you have the the leaderboard turned on and the referral program turned on, those that are gifting will also earn rewards. So they're working hard. Let them earn their rewards. Collaborations. This is going to take some work on your part, but you're going to build great relationships, and it works. There are many ways you can do this, but in your category of content, you should be following others that you admire or aspire to be, or just content that you love, and reach out to the writer or content creator and see if you can do collaboration posts or pieces of content as guests on one another's Substack. I cross-post a lot of content with other finance Substackers, even content creators off of Substack. If I see articles that I really enjoy, that I find valuable, and I feel that my subscribers would find value in, I will cross-post that. So A, it's great content that you don't have to really work for, right? And B, you're building those relationships. And C, you might have crossover audiences that might subscribe from one another. So collabs are a great tool set to grow. The other one is tactically within Substack Notes, which by itself is a great growth engine. But in the morning, try to get into a habit of looking at your notes feed of people you follow and things that you enjoy reading, and restack those notes so that your followers can see that. Same thing as a collab, but just more on a micro blogging level in Substack Notes. The other one, which I don't use, but you should, as long as you're not an anonymous Substacker like I am, is LinkedIn. If you have a professional network, leverage that. Post on LinkedIn so you can get that traffic as well. Same thing with X, formerly Twitter. However, you're going to run into some interference there with the whole, what do you call it? They're basically blocking links out of X to Substack right now. So you might run into some interference there. A tip I would have is, instead of putting in the URL to Substack, potentially just putting your Substack in your X profile bio link and directing people to go to your profile page. Or what I've also seen is post an image GIF with the URL, so it's not a hyperlink, but people can still see where to go. Do the same thing, leverage YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, if they're relevant channels for your category. That's number 4. Number 5, this one is part of number 4, which is network effect, but it's recommendation exchange. Now, I think this is so important that it deserves its own number. So I'll give you specific examples, but the recommendation exchange or recommendation feature on Substack allows you to recommend other Substacks, and other Substacks can recommend you. But if you get into a habit of reaching out to Substacks you think have audience overlap to yours, that has content that's in brand with your brand, just reach out to them and ask them politely if they would be willing to do a recommendation exchange. I started doing this very early on, not soon enough, and I was very aspirational. I went high and low, right? The top of the heap, I heard Doomberg on a interview, I believe, right here on Substack Grow. And they had been talking about how they grew. This was when they were still on Twitter, by the way, or X, before they made that cutoff switch all into Substack. But they were talking about how they grew. And part of that interview, the Doomberg team said, hey, look, we'd be happy to help you grow. If you're on Substack, just reach out to us and we'll try to help. So before he even finished the sentence, I was already on X DMing him or DMing the team saying, hey, this is my Substack. Can you check it out? If it's on brand with your content and your audience, would you mind helping me out? Reshare this out, etc. And they did one better. They added me to their recommendation list. And they gave me a comp subscription to their premium for a while, which I converted to paid shortly after. And that actually is another tactic, C number 14, but I'll get into that later. But you're gonna get no's for sure. I certainly got a ton of no's, even from people that are in the same category as me, even from people I've already sent subscriptions to. I've gotten no's, but that's okay because you're gonna get some great yeses. And another one that I wanted to point out is Adam Taggart. So if you're not in the economics and finance content world, Adam has been running a YouTube media business. And he started out with another company. He had already gotten tons of acclaim there through YouTube. I think at one point he was getting more impressions than CNN. And I just admired the content. I followed the content. I was a true early adopter of the content. And it was good timing on my part, luck on my part. I saw that Adam was moving to Substack, and he created a Substack page. And the day he created it, obviously no one really knew what was going on, right? Like he just got on Substack. So I pinged him. I introduced myself. I told him I was an early YouTube subscriber to the channel there. And could we do a recommendation exchange? He probably didn't even know what that was, but he's like, sure. He adds me to the recommendations list on Thoughtful Money. And to date, I have had over 1,000 new subscribers just from that recommendation exchange. And that's actually more than I've received from Doomberg. And I love partnering and them putting a spotlight on me from both. But I'm just giving you the context here. You're going to get no's, but you're going to get some really cool yeses too. And the great part of doing this recommendation exchange with like-minded category Substackers is that when you do get the free subscribers, they're so on brand with your content that they stick. They're not going to just subscribe and leave. And I'll talk a little bit about that, attrition rates, especially when it comes to being Substack featured. That's going to be the last thing I talk about, being Substack featured, potentially how to get Substack featured, how to be ready for it, etc. But I would say a successful recommendation exchange workflow in your Substack day-to-day operation is going to yield the best impact for your growth. Number 6, leverage the podcast, audio, and video features of Substack. If you're not doing video, if you're not doing audio, if you're not doing podcasts, fine. You don't have to look at this. But you should at least experiment, just like the post that I started out with Sean Colombo at Duolingo, and create experiments that you can rapidly deploy. I've been wanting to do a podcast forever, but it's daunting. I've never done one before this one, and I continue to make excuses on not to create one. The reason I did want to create one is in my category of finance, Wall Street, and stocks, most of the podcasts that I follow are like an hour plus long. They all involve advertisements or sponsored ads. And almost all the time, I don't know if it's just the demographics of finance and investing, almost all the times politics will come up. And usually one podcast will be left, another podcast will be right. And that's not why I'm listening, right? I just want my information and I want to go about my day. And I've been looking for like a 15-minute podcast that does that, cover the stock market action for that day, no politics, no advertisements. I could not find it. And I knew I could do it. I knew I could create this product, but I delayed for so long, so many excuses. Like, oh, I don't have a logo for the podcast. I don't have a microphone. I don't have a studio. I don't have intro music, outro music, all of it. So I just kept delaying and delaying and delaying. But last July 4th weekend in 2023, I was like, screw it. I'm going to implement Mamba mentality. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to create content. Like Gary Vee says, just create content and let the rest figure itself out. And it's been great because you should check out these features on Substack because they're very easy to use. I am now podcasting 5 times a day, and I'm distributing this for both free and paid Substack subscribers. And it's being distributed through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other podcasting platforms. And Substack makes this very easy to do. I'm just one person, right? Like I don't have a staff. I have a laptop and a microphone. And if I'm traveling, I have my phone and my Bluetooth headset. That's all I need to compete with everyone else in the podcast arena. So thank you to the Substack team for making that easy. You should at least experiment. You don't have to publish anything, but just experiment with it. What do you have to lose? An hour of your time? So another important piece of this for podcasting is that, if you're only creating on Substack, that is your funnel. But if you podcast and you distribute that work out to like Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, you're increasing your funnel size by almost 10x because not to knock Substack, but the ecosystem of YouTube, the ecosystem of Spotify, the ecosystem of Apple, they're huge. And your piece of content might go viral. And that will bring more new subscribers into your Substack. Number 7, press isn't free. Now this one, I'm being a hypocrite because I have not done this one, but I really want to. So when I look at aspirational Substackers in my category, would be Doomberg and Adam Taggart. They are prolifically on YouTube. I've spoken to Adam for real on the phone, so he's a real person, but they seem to live in the YouTube universe. Like they're there all the time, whether they're interviewing others or being interviewed, they're just there all the time. And I'm sure that is a great source of upper funnel intake into their Substacks. And I want to start doing that. I will get there, but that's definitely on my list. And it should be on yours as well. Press isn't free. You got to work hard for it. Number 8, engage. That just simply means comment and chat with folks on the Substack platform. If they're content that you love, just leave a comment, restack it with a note. So just engage. And if you have paid subscribers or free subscribers reaching out to you, get back to them quickly. If they email you, if they message you through the new messaging tool, reply to them, right? If you see people who are commenting on your material, you don't have to reply to everyone. Just heart them or like it. Let them know that they're appreciated. And it also feeds the algorithm. Number 9, don't be lazy. What I mean by this is there are a lot of ways that you can customize not only the look and feel of your Substack, but also the emails that go out when people subscribe, unsubscribe, subscribe to free, subscribe to paid. Customize all of that, because unless you've believed that people just subscribe to one Substack, you have to assume that they subscribe to many Substacks. And the last thing they want is to be served a template welcome email 10 times. So differentiate yourself. Don't be lazy. Just customize it. Number 10, take a break. So creating content and having urgency and creating content that you love is awesome. Especially to be getting paid for it is even better. But even still, creating content is hard work. Don't get burned out. For me, I have both free and paid. My schedule is predominantly based on the stock market, Monday through Friday, but I will also post on weekends sometimes. And sometimes I get burnt out not just by creating content, but I get burnt out from trading, because that's my main source of income. So I need to take a break sometimes from all of it. And I simply let my subscribers know via email or a post saying, hey, I have a vacation coming up. I'm not going to have content these days. And you have to be okay with it, right? Just treat it like you work at, a big company like Google or Adobe, and they have an unlimited PTO policy. You just have to let your manager and your teams know that you're going away. So take a break. All right, home stretch. We're about 60% done with all of these tips, but I'm going to transition on tips and advice for paid Substacks. So if you have no interest in going paid and you want to just kind of fast forward to number 17 on the topic of Substack Featured, you can fast forward, but we're going to deep dive into some tactics that have worked for me for the paid side of Substack. So number 11 is test new strategies for growth. Again, I'm going back to Mr. Columbo and Duolingo. And this is just one example. I have a few others, but this one I think kind of opened my eyes. And I didn't even know I could do this until recently. But it's leveraging the subscriber search function in your dashboard. So I didn't know you could do this. I knew you could sort and search, but I didn't know you can email through the platform. And I've included some screenshots here, but one day I was just poking around in the dashboard and I was just curious what the engagement level was like and where people were subscribing from, depending on where their engagement falls, like 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star of engagement. And then I saw this whole email button, like, what? I can email them? So the tip here is to look at your subscriber list and filter it where subscription is free or subscription is paid, then add a secondary filter where activity is whatever, 0 star, 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, and create specific messaging and discounts for those buckets of subscribers. So if you have a paid Substack, as you'll know, some members or subscribers will comment and engage a lot more than others. Some are just consuming the content and really don't do anything. Like they don't like any posts. They're just reading, and that's fine. So what I did was I bucketed 3 emails. The first one to highly engaged free subscribers. The second one was to middle engaged, like 3 stars. And then the third one was 0 stars. And I sent them all a unique email messaging with different offers. So the ones that were highly engaged, I gave them a higher discount than the ones that are checked out. They're like 0 stars, right? Like that means like they got 100 Substack podcast messages from me, but they only opened like 1, right? Like they're subscribers, but they're not really subscribers. So I wanted to give that group an offer and see if they're alive, right? Like, did they even mean to subscribe? And then I also sent a very nice thank you letter to the highly engaged free subscribers with a discount to convert to paid and why they should do so. And I'm happy to report, by doing this activity that took me less than 30 minutes, I'm getting paid subscribers from all 3 segments of my subscriber audience. But you can see just in the email open rates how vastly different the engagement levels are. The highly engaged, they opened it 88% of the time, whereas the low engaged opened at 6%, which is actually still pretty high, right? Because I think the email marketing newsletter rates is like less than 1% across the industry. So even 6% open rate for the 0 star engagement is still pretty good. So this is an easy tactic for you to deploy on your paid Substack. Number 12 is Substack referrals and the leaderboard. I mentioned to turn it on whether you're free or paid earlier in the network effects section, but especially if you have a paid Substack. And one thing that I noticed was I was lurking on many other paid Substacks that offer a referral program with a leaderboard. Almost no one received the top tier reward. Like in most cases, you'll see like a 6-month comp, and in the dashboard default is 25 referrals to get to the 6 months comp. And I didn't see anyone across 12 to 15 Substacks that got it. So I was like, man, if I'm the one on the other end trying to refer people, this must be frustrating. So after I saw that, immediately, because it was already turned on my Substack, I lowered the bar on the 6-month comp from 25 to 12. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to cut it again. Because if you have a referral program that no one is able to get to the reward, there's no point, right? And, this is free referrals. I mean, it's not free because you are giving them the 6-month comp or the 1-month comp, right? Depending on the tier. But you're not having to go out and try to acquire new subscribers through like advertising where the click-through rate is like 0.01%. And doing all of that. So that's my advice on Substack referrals. Turn it on and lower the threshold to earn the rewards. Because if they can't get there, they're not going to do it. Number 13, Substack Notes. So this is I use Substack Notes to consume content, but I also post a lot of content on Substack Notes. I use it very similarly to how people would use any social media microblogging platform like X or Instagram, primarily about stocks and finance. Be an early adopter. We're still very early on in the Substack note game. I failed at this on Twitter X. I failed at this on YouTube. I will not fail here on Substack Notes. Like, be active on Substack Notes. Follow people comment on their posts, restack posts, just be active. Number 14 is a testimonial page. I know there's an about page. You can add your testimonials there. That's fine. If you have a paid Substack, obviously when there's already a feature built in where people can choose to make the reason why they're subscribing as a paid member public, and then you can create blurbs with the images and share those. That's great. And you can share those. I think Doomberg does that too. But Doomberg, the number one finance Substack, already had a following, right? I did not. So I wanted to be genuine and collect testimonials as they were volunteered or emailed or commented to me after they subscribed, right? Because the blurbs that you get from Substack, they're created when they do subscribe. They haven't really consumed the paid content yet. They're saying subscribe, here's my credit card, and then they'll ask them why you subscribed. And then that blurb becomes a testimonial. That's great. But they have not yet consumed that paid content yet. So my testimonials page are from my paid subscribers and what they get out of being a paid subscriber after they've already been a paying subscriber. And as you know, social proof is very, very important for humans to decide to part with their hard-earned money, right? Like that's why we go to Amazon for reviews. We don't buy anything unless we read reviews. So my advice is, if you've been kind of like collecting bits and pieces of testimonials or thank you letters from your subscribers, politely reach out and say, hey, do you mind? Well, first thank them. And then two, like, would you mind if I anonymized your name, just maybe your initials, and shared that as a testimonial? And after a few days, weeks, or maybe you already have this, create a testimonials page like I've done and have a call to action on that page, as I do. And that page will activate and create paid subscribers or free subscribers for your Substack. Number 15. So this one is going to be for podcast creators. Substack makes it very easy for me to upload both a paid and a free preview version of my podcast every day. I have a screenshot on the show notes of the dashboard of a recent podcast that I uploaded called Slow Monday, Except Tesla and Janet Yellen. This was literally, I'm recording this podcast on May 1st. This was on Monday, April 29th. And the workflow that I use that works for me is I will record the entire episode almost like open mic. I don't really have a script. I have my show notes to go off of for that episode. I prepare the show notes before I record the audio, and I'll just do open mic. And then once I'm done recording the free preview, I pause in Adobe Audition that recording. I use Adobe Audition to record all of my podcasts. I pause the recording. I put a marker at that time marker where the free portion ends, and then I hit record again. I just keep going. And when I'm done with the full recording, which on average is like 20 to 30 minutes, I'll create a new file called, let's say today is episode 200. After that whole episode is recorded, I'll create a new audio file named free episode 200. And I take the 30-minute clip, I find the marker where I paused it for the free section, I copy that section, I paste it into the new free episode 200 file, and I save all. And then I have two files for that episode. But when I add the media in Substack, it's really easy. It asks you to add the free version I upload the free version, and then it asks me to add the it asks me to upload the media, which is the full version. Then there's a checkbox that says add free version below that, and I upload the free version. And then that's it. I'm done. And they make it super easy this way. And they have integrations with Spotify now where paid subscribers can link their Spotify and Substack accounts so they can easily consume that paid content on Spotify without having to do much. So that's number 15. Try, test uploading both the full and the free preview versions, the paid and the free preview versions of your podcast or audio or video file. They make it really easy. I have a playlist here that I will embed into the show notes that Substack has on YouTube, and a starter video that shows you how to set up an audio paywall on Substack. All right, 2 more. Number 16, turn on the 7-day free trial offer in settings if you have a paid Substack. So according to Substack, having that short free trial coupon increases the rate in which a free subscriber will pay to read a subscription by 10 to 20%. Who am I to argue with this? Tip number 5. Doomberg gave me a free preview as well, a comp, and after the comp ended, I upgraded to paid. So it works. So let folks try before they buy. And the last one, the one that you've been waiting, probably this entire freaking episode, 40 minutes. I saved it for last because it's controversial, but it's being Substack featured. I just want to preface and say being Substack featured is an honor, but it is not a magic bullet. It's not going to fix all your problems. So, yeah, sure, NYU grad. It's easy for you to say after being featured 3 times, but hear me out. The reason why this tip is the last one to grow your Substack is because it's the least important one. I said it. It is the least important one to grow your Substack. But I do want to kind of peel the onion and share what that experience is like and go a little bit of a deeper dive. So across my experience, as well as others I've spoken to in the finance category, I can't speak to outside of the finance category. Typically in that 7-day window of being featured, you will get anywhere from 500 to 2,000 new free subscribers in that 7-day window. Amazing. So how does one get Substack featured? So the short answer is I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. The short answer is do what the tin says, or do what it says on the tin. That is what Hannah Ray said on this interview, which I'll embed. Hat tip to Sarah Fay, who creates on Writers at Work. Great Substack. And she serendipitously published a piece called How to Be Featured on Substack today, the same day that I'm recording this. So I'm linking that in the show notes. Make sure you check that out. It's, again, called Sarah Fay, Writers at Work, How to Be Featured by Substack. But this podcast and post is not about how to be featured by Substack. It's almost like how to do everything else in lieu of being featured on Substack. But that interview has great content. Hannah Ray, who is a editor within the Substack team, goes through how they curate new content to share, to feature. There are multiple ways, but she talks about how Substack features work. the long answer of so the short answer is do what it says on the tin. What basically means is delight your subscribers, do what you're saying you're going to do on your Substack. The longer answer is in that podcast interview, but it's more of an art and science. It's a group of talented editorial team members, suggestions from the Substack community. They typically will ask on Substack Reads, like, who do you love to read and why? They look at data. And then ultimately, when they get to your Substack, it really depends on you, the creator. Is your content saying what it's going to do on the tin can? Are you delighting your Substack subscribers? Is the content high quality? So that's really the answer. It's really about you. The other thing is don't spam Hannah and the Substack team. That probably will not help your cause. So the other thing I want to mention here is for Substack Featured, you never know when it's coming. Each time it's happened to me, I wasn't expecting it. I didn't ask for it. You just see the dashboard and you see a ton of new subscribers coming in, usually on the Sunday, because the Substack congratulatory email usually comes on a Monday. You just never know when it's coming. So my advice is to be ready, right? Don't anticipate it, don't expect it, but if you do all of the other tips that I mentioned, you just need to be ready for it. Because the first time I was featured, I was not ready. At that time, I had less than 500 free subscribers. I had no paywall. I had no custom welcome email. I had no testimonials page. I had no referral program turned on. I had no paywall. I had not started podcasting yet, and I had not started the recommendation exchanges. So I got the emails like, wow, this is great. I've been working so hard creating the content. It's working. I got featured. And I squandered the opportunity because I had all of these new subscribers come in and I wasn't doing a good job of retaining them and maximizing their experience. So you have to be ready, whether you get featured or not, but just be ready just in case. The other tip that I want, or experience that I want to kind of give you guys the backstage tour on, is when you get featured, you may actually see a dip in your open rates, and you may see a few of those new subscribers leave very quickly. What? That's not how it's supposed to work. Well, think of it this way. Let's say you have a Substack about yoga. Being Substack Featured is like a Super Bowl ad. You're going to get yogis. You're going to get some barbarians and sloths coming into your Substack. And they might be subscribing just of curiosity of the feature. But when they get there, either you don't have any of the customization and maximize, like the tweaks I mentioned and tips I mentioned turned on, or they might not like the category. They might be like, oh, I didn't know it was about this, and they'll unsubscribe. Or they'll subscribe and they'll just stay, and they become part of your free subscriber list. And as you grow, overall, your response rates will drop because you're just collecting more and more upper funnel folks that may not be completely engaged with that category or content. So that's something to be mindful of. And that's why you have to work on your funnel strategy, how I dissected the different groups of engagement and sending them specific offers or messaging. It's important to do that. I've even read some Substack operators and content creators go in and purge low engagement subscribers from the list entirely so that their engagement doesn't keep dropping. So that's just some food for thought for you that you may not have expected of being Substack featured. So if you don't get featured by Substack this year or next year, don't kick yourself. It definitely is an honor. You're definitely going to get more new subscribers if you get featured, but you can do this on your own through some of the tips that I've already shared with you. And all of these tips are free to implement. And keep also in mind, if you don't get picked, it's not a personal knock on your content. They can only pick 5 Substacks every 7 days across every category on Substack. That's only 260 Substacks per year. So, don't be hard on the Substack team. So that's my spiel on Substack Featured. And I really hope you leave me some feedback on the other number 1 through 16 tips. Are you going to implement any of this? Let me know. Have you already implemented this? Let me know. Am I missing something that would be beneficial for me to implement? Please let me know. If you're interested in me doing a part 2, maybe as a subject of like the perilous journey of deciding to go paid, leave me a comment. Maybe I'll do that, or maybe they'll have me on Substack Grow as a guest, or the Active Voice podcast with Hamish. But I enjoy doing this. If you found this episode or post because of the subject matter but have never heard of Not Your Advisor with NYU Grad, but you have some interest, or you have a stock portfolio, 401k, Roth IRA, and investing interest, please consider subscribing free just to check it out. I'll link my testimonials page in the show notes. But for those that are just on podcast, it's nyugrad.substack.com. That is the URL for the Substack. And I really appreciate you tuning in. If you thought this was helpful, please comment below the post, or just share it with your friends and family who may have a Substack and help them grow. I really enjoyed doing this podcast, and I hope you enjoy implementing some of these tips, and I wish you all the best of luck in growing your Substacks. Have a great day, and hopefully I'll see you all soon on the next one.